Hi, welcome to Bookwood. I'm glad you chose to spend some time with me. If we haven't met before, my name is Mashou and I create bookish and journal related content over here on YouTube. In my previous video, I have set up my reading journal for July, which means that I can now play my TBR game Bookhunt to determine the prompts that I'm going to read for and fill in my TBR spread. My TBR game is inspired by a board game called Indian Summer, which is very Tetris-like. I will link you to the introduction video of this game so that you have a better view on the rules if you wish to have that. And in short, well, I'll be drawing, or my innocent hand, I will be drawing tiles that help me fill up this board that represent the forest soil with these fallen leaves. There are 6 little areas which each represent one book, and the dominant color on that area will determine if I read a physical, an audio, or an ebook. For the summer, I will not be following that rule or not that strict. I do have less time to listen to audiobooks, but also I noticed that my reading has changed and I read way more ebook formats than I used to, and they tend not to come out in this game. I also added in berries because I will need 10 prompts in total. So normally it's 6 books, but now I'll try to get out 10 because I'm reading for 2 readathons and I will try to read 5 books for each. And so the added berries are for Battle of the Bands and the printed ones are for GameNight. I need to have at least 5 of each apparent through a little hole in the Tetris blocks, because this is what lets me gain this treasure. I will also be able to gain mushrooms that will allow me to double up one of my reads with a priority read of mine, and the feather will help me or allow me to pick out of the prompts the ones that I would like. If I have more than 5, then the only treasure left are the nuts, and they are meant to feed the squirrels. Squirrels are filling in the little 1 square spaces where no other tile will fit, and they will make me read smaller reads like manga, comics, or short stories. I feel that this game went pretty smooth. I will end up with only 1 tile next to the board, so there will not be any rule saying that I need to read a book that has at least so many 100 pages. And that's a good thing, because my TBR, as you will see in the second part, will end up with quite a few pages. So let's see what I need to read. I have 6 squirrels and I can feed 3 of them, so that leaves me with 3 short reads for the month of July. I got exactly 5 berries of the ones printed on the board, so that means that I will have to do with the 5 prompts that I will draw out of the little stack of cards that Clio provides as a printable. The books that I will be reading for each of these prompts will be detailed in the second part of this video, so you can skip ahead to that if you're just interested in that. For that you can use the chapters in the description box below. I collected 6 berries for the Battle of the Bands readathon, and since the prompts are all numbered from 1 through 20, I decided to use a d20 dice to pick out the prompts by just rolling it. No double ups possible, since you can read only once for each prompt. I have a feather, and so I will be using that to pick out the 5 prompts that I prefer out of these 6. Now that my TBR game has been played and that we have an idea of the prompts I'm going to read for, it is time that I tell to you which books that I have picked. I will start by saying there will be some background noises going on. It is heat wave again. Let's be happy that we have sun. And I took the kids late in the evening to the playground so that they could play in lesser hot temperatures, because it's way too hot in the house for them to sleep. And so we will hear them play around, and maybe my eyes will flicker around to have an eye on what they're doing. Let's start with the books of my priority TBR. And one of the first things that I want to say about that is that normally when July starts, I will have finished reading the Rain Wild Chronicles by Robin Hobb. And I decided not to jump immediately in the last trilogy of this saga. I wanted a little break, but also I have discovered I had a lot of books on my TBR, if it is for July or for August. I make them together for library purposes. If you want to know how a library works, then I made a vlog about that for you, and it shows the very old historical building that our library is located in. So it's worthwhile your time to have a look at it. And I decided then, well, not to prioritize those books over the summer. For TBRathon, I need a contemporary. I need a book that has flashy colors on the cover. Of course, a booktube recommendation. And I forgot the last prompt. We will have to watch my vlog about that to find out what the other prompt was, or go have a look at Leandra's announcement video, because you can still participate. I have picked out for that a book that is a translation from Italian. It does have some other languages than French, but no English. And in French, it is called Si les chats pouvaient parler, if the cats could speak. This is the second book in a cozy mystery series. I think you can read each tome by themselves, in which the owner of a bookshop called the Black Cat Bookshop is solving murder mysteries, to be exact. And in this volume, they are invited as a book club on a cruise ship, and of course, the investigation will take place on this cruise ship. I have it on my radar for a little while. It finally arrived at the library, so I take the chance to read that as soon as possible. Then, of course, there is the connection challenge. At this point, I am not sure that I will get to these two books because we have to see how it goes with Emily Wild 3. If you want to know more about that, there is my TBR of last month explaining why that might be a problem. But also, maybe I will just jump over it. It depends on when I get my hands on it. And the next two prompts are a book that is a nonfiction that is based on the previous read. And the book before that I will read, and I'm slowly reading through, is The Last Tale of the Flower Bride. And I picked the book The Devil You Know for this because it is telling 11 stories of cases of people who have psychological problems. And if I am not mistaken, in The Last Tale of the Flower Brides, there is in the summary at least said that at some point the fiance doesn't or the husband doesn't can't make the difference between what's dreams and what's reality. And so I thought that a psychological illness creating hallucinations and stuff might be a good pick for that. And then the next prompt is to pick a book that is on the opposite side of the color wheel. And the French version of Les Racines de la Violence of The Devil You Know is in gray, and some Google search learned me that there is no opposite on the color wheel, but that you could consider any color that has a grain tone in it, or that is a mix between two colors that give grayish colors. And I went with a French only book also, which is called La Nuit des 13 Plumes, or The Night of the 13 Feathers, which is an Ondine retelling in which this now more stronger character is trying to find out why her being born was cursed. And this book is like a grayish purplish color, so I thought that would fit. After that, I read for two readathons. As we saw, I picked books for both of them, and I will start with the books for the Battle of the Bands. We have some bands driving by because this setup in my reading journal is more aimed towards that readathon. And I had 6 prompts, even if I intended to read 5 books. So I used my feather to skip the roll that has the 10th prompt. So I decided to just put them in order of the numbers. So we'll start with the one that I rolled, and that is a prompt that says that I need to read a book that takes a load of my TBR, and I decided to read Evergreen Legacy. This is the last series, no, not series, installment in the Magical Botanist series, which takes a series of my series to read, which is quite a load on my TBR because I have noticed that I've been starting more series than reading sequels or finishing ones. And if you hang in here, then you will see that in August this book was also part of a pile of possibilities, but I didn't got that prompt. And if I need a follow-up prompt, then I can switch the book for it. So I decided to take the chance to just finish this series and have it off my TBR. The next roll is a 3, that is reread a favorite. And that's also one that made me very happy because I still need to read 3 books in my reread project of last year. So I'm going to be reading Priestess of Avalon. This is also a book that is on my pile of possibilities of August that can be replaced by the next installment in this series. So I thought, let's just move on with that project as well. Then I rolled also a 4, which is a nautical theme or a story set on a boat, a ship. So I will use one of my mushrooms and read the If Cats Could Speak book that is not translated to English for that. For the 11 I rolled, the prompt is a shady character, and I didn't have to think long before I knew what I was going to read. I'm going to read The Stolen Throne, which is the second book in the Dominions, if I say it correctly, series. I read the first book, I think, in May, and I don't want to spoil for those who still want to read this series, but let's say that indeed there is a shady character in that series. The last role then is a 19, and that is to read a book about someone famous. And I decided to go for an audiobook on that one, and that will be Gandhi, a memoir. Well, Gandhi is a famous person, so reading his memoir will be a good choice, I guess. I have it in my Audible included for a while now, so it is a good idea to listen to that one. For the GameNight by Clio, I have picked 5 prompts. I have picked books for them because I need to have books on hold at the library. I don't have so many books I just can go pick from. And I really wanted to be able to take part in her little chaos introduction this year. She will make us switch some of the pieces on the board, which will have an influence on our moves on it. So I have decided that these 5 prompts, I will pick a book for them, and then I will definitely start with the first one, and then the others I will mingle. And as I go, I will pick one and do the moves and see for the points. But to see how this exactly works, come along in my carousel vlogs that will be more shown in those. The first one I got was the axe, and the axe immediately made me think of serial killers somehow. It's like I got this like stereotypical Halloweenish idea of someone running with an axe behind someone else. And that made me think of the second book of an audiobook that I am listening to this month, which is also French only. I didn't pick much French only books for June, so in July you will have some, which is the second book in Le Porteur de Mort, and it is called Tenshin. So I really hope that I will like it. My husband said you have to hang on in the first one. It's a little bit uneventful, but it's setting the whole context for the 5 other books. So I decided to hang in there in the first one. Almost done with it now. And so I will give the second one a chance before deciding if I like this series or not. The next prompt that I got was a lamp, and to me it makes me think of the lamps of which genies come out, like Aladdin lamps. And scrolling through my wanting to read lists on Goodreads, I came across a book that is called The Wish Collector. And for me, this lamp is associated with wishes. And I decided to read that book. And I had to go look up what it is about because I have no idea where I saw it when I added it to my list. So I can go check the date, but it's not going to help because I make pictures and then I add a bunch at the same time. And so looking up this book, I was quite happy with this pick. So we are going to follow a girl whose name is Clara. She's a classical ballet dancer. You don't see those often in stories, and I used to dance classical ballet. So this will be a trip down memory lane, I guess. And she's moving to New Orleans where she feels quite lonely. She knows nobody there. And she feels drawn to an estate that is seemingly abandoned, that is said to be haunted. And she will discover that it is haunted by a man of flesh and blood. that doesn't want to come out, and she communicates with him through cracks in the wall. I don't know exactly how I have to imagine this estate. I will read the book to find out. And if I understood well, these conversations will lead to some kind of romance situation. More information in an upcoming carousel vlog, because I am very curious now about this book. The third symbol I got was the recycle symbol. And I decided to read a book that I found in a little free library. Over here, they are often used to dump old books, unwanted books, instead of throwing them away. For some of them, it's a good thing. Others are like torn apart or have mold in them and should be thrown away. But I found a version of A Brave New World, and I never read that book. And it has been in my stack of would like to read now for a while. So I decided it would be a good moment to read that. Also, a dystopia in which our world is somehow recycled into someone else, something else. Maybe not in a positive way, though, but it's still a change of form. So I will be reading that one. The next I got was a chicken, which made me laugh because it was the example that Clio gave in her announcement video about how to approach the prompts. And I must say that what I picked up from the chicken is the feathers, and I will be reading for that. Thanks to my second mushroom, the Ondine retelling, La Nuit des 13 Plumes, or The Night of the 13 Feathers, because chickens have feathers. Why not? The last one I have was a plate, which made me think of like a hot dish under a protection keep warm cover. And so I went to look for a book set with a restaurant or a cafe or something like that. And I have on my wanting to read list a Asian, I'm not sure, but I think Japanese, a book that is called The Full Moon Coffee Shop, in which I think we have like a situation going on that there is a coffee shop that appears for people who need it on nights of full moons. And I think it is a little bit like philosophical life advice, slice of life, typical Asian fiction. So I thought that might be a good fit for that. That brings my TBR to 11 books for 3,749 pages and 26 hours and 27 minutes of audiobook. You might have noticed that I also didn't prioritize any audiobooks yet. It is summer. I will not go out to work. My kids are at home. We will do not that much of household chores. So I think I will not have the time to do many audiobooks. And there are none that are going out of the Audible collection. There are none other series that I need to catch up with. So we'll see if I have more time. Then it will be a big surprise of what I will be reading. The last books then that I need to talk to you about is The Three Little Squirrels that I kept. And for those, I am going to do a reread of the first two volumes of Moriarty the Patriot. That's a manga that I have read a long while ago, and we never bought the other volumes. And in the end, we decided not to do that because we are way, way behind, and we have other series on which we are up to date or almost that we want to prioritize in buying. And so I have asked for the next installments 3 and to 7. So you know that I will be reading those also in August as a little sneak peek, you know that. And I will be reading the third installment and also in July. And I hope that I will manage to read all these books. Normally the 3 manga that are about 630 pages. It seems like a lot, but that will be quite quick reads. I hope that you're as interested in this TBR as I am. I always, when I make this up, I cannot wait until being the next month and starting to read for them, which is quite strange because I have still a lot of exciting books to read this month. And if you want to know if I read them and what I think about them and if they are as exciting as I hoped, then you can subscribe to this channel, maybe turn on the notifications, and you will know when my next videos come up, especially then the carousel vlogs in which I will talk to you about all these books. I hope that you will have an as exciting TBR for the month of July. Let me know in the comments what you plan to read, and I hope that you will enjoy all these reads. See you soon!